Hello, virtual students. Since the group A's, and I can't think of what I'm saying, group A and B are back in class, the way that we are doing the spiral now is they will have certain questions that are by themselves for a grade. So to make it equal, I'm doing the same thing for you guys. So if you've noticed on your spiral review this week, there are red questions. The red questions are the ones I'm going to be going over with you today here on the whiteboard, so you can just use the video to help you. The ones that are not in red are ones that are by yourself. Now, we will have a Google Meet scheduled for Monday, only on Monday, because the rest of the week I'll have kids in the classroom. So we'll have a meeting scheduled on Monday, and what I'll do is go over I'll let you have a chance to ask me questions. So say you forgot what expanded form is and you see that one's by yourself, you can ask, you can join the Google Meet and ask then. Now, if you don't join the Google Meet and you have questions, I'm not going to be as available now that we're all not virtual. So it's pretty important you try to attend the meeting on Monday if you're needing help with those spirals. So the meetings for the Google Meets on Mondays are now going to be just for my virtual students to help them get caught up. So, with that being said, I look really tired, y'all. I'm not that tired, I promise. Okay, so on Monday, you'll see that there are comparing questions. Those are by yourself. Finding the sum is by yourself. That word problems by yourself, I'll take an estimate or the exact answer. I want you to try the quotient by yourself. We'll be doing division this week. If you need help with division, please let me know, and we can do that in our Google Meet. But we've done a lot of that in our spirals, and this week is going to be learning how to do division, so we need to start trying those on our own. Complete the pattern. We've been doing patterns, so we should know how to do that. Now, that first question you should see that's together is 5/6 compared to 2/3. Now, we have not done anything with fractions yet. And you guys are a little bit of a disadvantage being at home because fractions are a pretty hands-on type of skill, but I will do my best to help you guys out. So, one way we can compare fractions, you can compare to a half, you can compare the missing piece. A quick way is you can do cross multiplication. So when you're cross multiplying, you're going to multiply the denominator and the numerator, and then the denominator and the numerator. I call this multiply the butterfly, because if I circle what I'm multiplying, kind of looks like a butterfly in a way. So 6, and I have this big X here in the middle showing me that I am using multiplication. 6 times 2 is a product of 12. 5 times 3 is a product of 15. So now all I have to do is compare 15 to 12. And I know that 15 is going to be greater than 12. So greater than would be my symbol I'd put in the middle of 5/6 and 2/3. So it's a pretty easy, that's a pretty easy shortcut. Now, we'll be going over a little bit deeper stuff when we get to fractions, but for today, you can settle with that. Okay? I lost my page. All right, our next question. Decompose the fraction in 2 different ways. So, when you think of decomposing in science means to break down. It means, I just knocked over my bookshelf. Decomposing means to break down. It means to get smaller, to make into smaller pieces. So, when you're decomposing fractions, we are going to see 2 fractions that would add to get to 5/6. Let me grab my fraction tiles real fast. So here are my fraction tiles. Students will be using these in class. I'll obviously have to wipe them down so we can use them. But 5/6, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me pull those out. So if I wanted to decompose 5, 6, I could look at these 5 pieces, and I know I could take them apart doing it this way. Here I have 2, 6 here, 3, 6 here, so 2, 6 plus 3, 6 would work. It's really hard to do a video with this. And my desks are all spread out now, so I can't, it's hard to video. All right, so another thing I could do to decompose, I could take 4 of these pieces, so 4, 6 plus 1, 6. If I put those together, I get 5, 6. So I could do 4, 6 plus 1, 6. The big thing is that the denominator stays the same because the number of pieces in the whole doesn't change. So those number of pieces are not changing. So you got to keep your denominator the same, and your numerators have to add to that numerator that we began with. All right, adding the 2 fractions. We have, in that first fraction, we have 1/4, because there's 1 piece colored out of 4, and then plus 2/4, because there's 2 pieces colored with 4 pieces for the whole. So if I add 1/4 plus 2/4, I'm going to get 3/4. So when you're adding fractions, you leave the denominator the same. You do not add the denominator, but you only add the numerator. So 3/4 would be our answer for that one. All right, next we have, let's see, looking at fifths. The bad thing with these is they're hard to put back in place sometimes. All right, since you guys are, it's only virtual students, I'm still going to do a secret word because the other kids will have lots of opportunities to get positive dojos in class, and I want it to be fair. So the positive, or the secret word, since there's fractions in our spiral today, and pizza uses fractions, the secret word is pizza. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, so we have 4/5. Making sure I had 4/5. So 4/5, I pulled out, and there's 4 that are shaded. 5 is our denominator. I'm going to take 2 away. So now I have 2/5 left. So 4/5 minus 2/5, I would say, equals 2/5. Notice the denominator is not being subtracted because the number of pieces that make the whole is not changing. It's still going to stay the same. Thank you guys for being patient with me. I hope you're being patient with me. You could, for all I know, you could be mad as a hornet at me right now. I don't think you would be. If you are, sorry. What is the greatest factor 10 and 20 have in common? Doing our GCF. All right, so factors we know are few. It's the numbers that you multiply to get to this main number. I know the first factor of 10 is going to be 1 because 1 is the first factor for all numbers. So 1 times 10 equals 10. My next factor, it's going to be, I'm going to check is 2. So I know that 2, the factors have to be even, or the multiple has to be even. 10 is an even number, so 2 must be a factor. Now I have to think of what times 2 equals 10. That would be 2 times 5. I still want to check to see if there's any more. Does anything times 3 equal 10? No. Anything times 4? No. And since there's only 3 and 4 between 2 and 5, that means I'm done. That means that there are no more factors to be listed. All right, looking at 20. 1 will be our first factor. So we know 1 times 20 is going to equal 20. Checking 2 next. Is 20 an even number? It is, so 2 will be a factor. 2 times what equals 20? Here's where our division would come into place. If you didn't know, you could divide 2 divided by 10, or 2 divided by 20, or know that 2 times 10 equals 20. Anything times 3 equal 20? No. What about 4? Yes. 4 times 5 is going to equal 20. There are no numbers between 4 and 5, so I know I've listed all my factors. So with this, it's asking for the greatest factor in common. So we're looking at all the numbers they have in common. They have 1 and 1. They have 2 and 2. This one has 4, that one doesn't have 4. They have 5 and 5, 10 and 10. So the biggest number they have in common would be 10. Since it's the greatest common factor, we would say it's the GCF equals 10. And we're going to use that a lot when it comes to simplifying fractions. So that is something that we need to make sure we know how to do. All right. A few more left. Find 2 equivalent fractions for each fraction below. Equivalent fractions are one of my favorite things to teach because I like using that word equivalent. Think about with the word equivalent, if you're wanting your parents to be equal and equivalent at home, if they give brother $5 but then give you a quarter, not very equivalent, that's not being very equivalent, is it? So equivalent means if you give it to one number, you have to give it to the other. So just like at home, if brother gets a big cupcake, you're expecting the same size, equal size cupcake. So with equivalent fractions, if we're doing the same to the numerator and the denominator, the top number and the bottom number, we're using multiplication with that. So for 1/8, I feel like I've mixed that up. I've said that a little funny. So, to be equivalent, we have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the exact same number. 1 doesn't count. You can't do times 1 because it would just be 1/8. So, I like to just pick 2 to begin with. So, I'm going to multiply the denominator times 2, or the numerator times 2. If I do it to the numerator, I must do it to the denominator. So, 1 times 2 equals 2. 8 times 2 equals 16. Here's why this works. With the fraction 2 over 2, you're multiplying it times 2 over 2. If I looked at 2 halves, 2 halves is the same as 1 whole. So anything times 1 is going to equal itself. So if we're really just multiplying this fraction times 1, then we're going to get a fraction that is essentially the same or equivalent. So 1/8 and 2/16 are the same size pieces of pizza because we're multiplying it by the same number. Okay? And it says to do two equivalent fractions. So we did times 2 first. Let's do times 3. So if I do it to the numerator, I've got to do it to the denominator. 1 times 3 equals 3. 8 times 3 equals 24. So, I know that works because 3/3, let me a little harder to show. Is the same thing as 1 whole. No, I need one more hand. We'll pretend like that's straight. All right, but they are the same. They're equivalent because you're multiplying the numerator and denominator by the same thing. All right, next, now we're doing 1/6. Let's just do the same numbers. Some people become a little showy, and we'll do huge numbers like times 28 or times 1,423,516. I'm going, okay, but you have to multiply it right, so don't go crazy with it. Let's do times 2 for 1/6. Define equivalent fraction. 1 times 2 is a product of 2. 6 times 2 is a product of 12. So 2/12 is going to be equivalent to 1/6. Let's find a second one. I'm going to do times 3 again. If I do it to the numerator, you must do it to the denominator. 1 times 3 equals 3. 6 times 3 is a product of 18. So 3/18 and 2/12 will be equivalent fractions. Okay. 2 more to go. All right, 7/8. We're going to decompose 7/8 two different ways. So since I don't have 8 hands to hold the 8 different pieces, we're going to do this in our head. If you remember adding fractions, the denominator does not change. So let's add 2 things with 8 as the denominator. Think of 2 things to add that would equal, why 7/8 on here twice? Oh no, I see. Gosh, y'all. Long week already. I miss having people here. I can already tell. So what 2 things can you add to get to the numerator of 7? You could do 1 plus 6. So 1/8 plus 6/8 equals 7/8. Another thing, it's got to say 8 on the bottom. I could do 2/8 plus 5/8 equals 7/8. When we get to fractions, I do have a website where you can use different fraction tiles. So since you guys are not here, I'll try to get that website to you so you can at least kind of do the same hands-on stuff we're doing here in class. Use a number line to solve the problems below. Well, I mean, you could really just add them and subtract them looking at it. Or you could skip. I'm not redrawing that, so this video isn't a million hours long. But just remember, the denominators are going to stay the same. You're not adding those. 2 plus 3 is going to equal 5, so 5/8 would be our answer. 6/8 minus 2/8. We do not subtract the denominators. The denominator stays the same. And we'll see that with fraction tiles when we get to adding and subtracting fractions. 6 minus 2 will be a difference of 4. Now this is not simplified, and in class I'll be teaching, or when we get to fractions, I'll be teaching you how to simplify fractions. But 4/8 is actually, 4 is actually half of 8, so 4/8 is actually equivalent to 1/2. So 4/8 should actually be 1/2. But we'll get there. I'm having you do both days this week. So make sure that you are doing both days this time. Monday, spiral review for virtual kids only. If you need help, if you don't know how to do division, if you don't remember double-digit multiplication, join and I'll help you. But remember, I'm not going to have as much time to be able to answer emails like I have before, or I'm not going to have as much time during the day. So you're going to have to be patient with Miss Murphy until the other students are out of the room. All right, so if you have, join me on the Google Meet on Monday at 1 o'clock. All right, see you guys soon.